Absolutely. Welcome, everybody. As Sunny has said a few times here, if you came in early, that I am Jonily Zupancic. I am J Jonily, Z Zupancic. And as uh, as we are getting to know each other here today, if you could just make sure that your first name is the same that's on the screen. So if you could just drop your first name in the chat, that would be amazing. And I want to make sure here that I can get my PowerPoint launched. Awesome. All right, there we go. So make sure you drop your first name in the chat. Just make sure that it matches. It doesn't have to match. I want to know who I'm talking to. So if it's not the name that is on your video, that would be absolutely amazing. And you are here today for Beyond Testing Secrets, how schools can scale math achievement and student learning outcomes without more time or new materials, even if your efforts are maxed out, even if you've tried everything before. And understanding that we want to scale math achievement, we are also going to talk about some of those underlying foundational barriers mathematically that keep us stuck with either stagnant test results or declining test results that we're going to talk about this evening. And we're going to ask you again, we had some new people jump in from when we just started, and we're going to ask you again to type in, where are you coming from today? So we want to thank you for taking the time to come on here today to our webinar, and we'd like to know where you're from. So if you can drop in the chat where you're coming from today. As we get started, I like to get excited about where people are. And it's so fantastic for you all to connect with each other to see where everybody is coming from as well. As you're dropping that in the chat, a little bit more about today. If your district has invested in curriculum resources, intervention programs, professional development, but outcomes still aren't where they should be, this session is exactly for you, and it doesn't matter what state you're from. The reason is we have studied all of the learning standards for mathematics and the data and the research from all states, and we are bringing the up-to-date, top-notch information no matter where you are from. So I see that we are from Indiana. We said Detroit. Excellent. Wonderful. It's so good to see everybody. I am from the Buckeye State, Ohio, just outside of Central Ohio. And I will be talking to you a little more about some of my favorite sports teams there. But welcome tonight, and it is absolutely fantastic that you are here. Tonight's session is going to run 90 minutes. So a little more about today. We do value your time, so we are going to be pacing so that we can end on time, if not a bit early. We will save questions until the end, so you can either put your questions in the chat throughout the session or hold those questions until our Q&A session at the end. Second, today we will be drawing a few more winners for book boxes. Book boxes are the Making Mathinaires book. There are 4 books inside that will be sent to you, your mailing address, and a few lucky winners will win a book box tonight. And as a bonus, at the end of today's presentation, anyone interested in having a Zoom call with me to go more in depth on the content for tonight, you might just win a bonus 60-minute call. One lucky school, one lucky person here will win that at the end of the session tonight if you do stay to the end. And finally, I do want to let you know that we are going to have an offer at the end. This offer may not be for everyone, but for many of you, it is a perfect fit, and it is a next step for your school and your teachers and ultimately your students for increasing math achievement. So let's go ahead and dive into today. Jonily, Jay-Z, Zupancic, zoo where animals are, pan like frying pan, sick like I'm not feeling well. I go into a lot of classrooms, a lot of different age levels, and I always give that pronunciation of my last name. And I am the author of Making Mathaniers. I ultimately bring to schools and school districts rich, complex mathematical experiences to every classroom, to every teacher, to affect every student so that we can build joy, confidence, and utmost of achievement results. I support schools, districts, and teachers to create those rich experiences, but also those complex experiences that are still accessible for our students. We want our students to learn good, difficult, high level mathematics, no matter if students are struggling, special ed, have processing issues, typical students. We want to make those complex experiences completely accessible and simple for our most struggling students. In 2002, during my third year of teaching, I was sitting at my desk after school. The room is quiet, damp, as all schools are. Eyes filling up with tears. And the reason for this is I opened my email and found again that my students at my school at my grade level did not maintain a good percentage for proficient on the state test. I was defeated, devastated. I was hopeless. I didn't know what else to do because I have tried everything. I even taught the textbook with fidelity, did all of the district mandates, stuck with the pacing guide, did everything I knew how to do, and started to feel like a failure. I felt anxious about returning the next school year. I felt sad for my students and myself. And I knew something had to change or I was going to leave education completely. Well, then I remembered that I had this training that I had gone to about neuroscience and the brain, cognitive instruction. Well, for me, in that training, I didn't see a lot of the application to how we teach mathematics because mathematics is supposed to be streamlined, linear, one thing at a time, and I was doing exactly that. But I did pull open the file cabinet drawer, knowing that I was going to be at school for another 2 hours after school anyway, and found those training materials. As I started to go through those training materials, I realized that the way that I was delivering my content, the way that I was delivering the mathematics to students, was not the way the brain actually learns. And at that time, I knew I had to do something completely different. As I'm going to share with you tonight, some of those completely different but simple instructional shifts have helped schools and districts scale math achievement and test results. My mission is simple. It is to create these rich, highly confident, high risk math classrooms that every student can work independently, excitedly on complex math tasks. Another part of my story is at the time that I found that folder and began to go down the journey of understanding how the brain actually learns mathematics, I decided to try some new things in my classroom and results began to skyrocket. I then got many questions from not only other schools in my district, but other districts as well. And those questions were, what are you doing? And at the time, I couldn't quite articulate it. So I began to study the instructional methods and techniques that were actually working. At that time, I began to support other schools and districts. And in 2014, I left my school district that I started with, that I had been with for 15 years, to go on tour to bring this mission to many other schools and districts in the United States. After a 14-year lag of not being teacher of record, this year I became teacher of record again after 14 years of touring and teaching and training instructional coaches and teachers, administrators, school leaders, and decided I need to get back in, be teacher of record for groups of students, and model what I've been teaching for the past 14 years. So this is my classroom, the first time in 14 years, and I have been able to carry out my mission again that I had carried out many years ago and also had been training many other schools on. And the key for the mission is to understand the neuroscience and the cognitive science of how the brain learns. As a school leader, being here tonight, you may, probably very likely, have heard about or been through extensive training on the science of reading. The science of math is upon us. Our goal tonight is for us to just brush the surface of what the science of math looks like and how we can create systematic, explicit instructional techniques that are consistent throughout classrooms, no matter what curriculum or textbook we are using. These brain-based approaches will work with current curriculum materials. And in my classroom and in other teachers' classrooms, I always introduce myself and launch the year with mathematics is not the goal. The goal is to create thinkers. Because of this, and because our goal is to create thinkers and shape the brain and make the brain stronger for learning, help the brain learn how to learn so that these complex math topics can be done with ease. And because the focus is on the thinking, the vehicle is the mathematics. We're just using mathematics to exercise the mind. When students say to me throughout the year, when am I ever going to use this? My response is, thinking? Probably never. See, it's not about the mathematics. It's about what is happening to the brain when the mathematics is initiated. Our philosophy is simple. It is to create sensory-based math experiences at every level. Oftentimes, this is very easy at elementary. It's very seamless to use manipulatives to create concrete, semi-concrete, visual, sensory, hands-on, contextual, conceptual experiences for students. Often after third or fourth grade, these visual sensory experiences that give the brain connections and associations to the mathematics seem to be eliminated from classrooms. Not because of a lack of effort, but because of a lack of knowledge from the teachers. We as teachers were not trained in how the brain actually learns through these sensory experiences. And in addition to that, what does that look like in higher level mathematics? And if you look at these pictures here on the screen, I'll just give one quick example. And that is in all grade levels from second grade through high school, I use this task, which is one of our favorite sensory-based tasks called the Twizzler problem. And the idea is students actually experience cutting the Twizzler in half and in half and in half and in half. Again, this experience is accessible to first and second graders, the same as it's accessible to our high schoolers, no matter whether students are a gifted, talented learner or a struggling learner. But as you can see, the ultimate outcome of this at the high school level is exponential function. exponential decay. But using the same task year after year in a sensory brain-based way creates the schema, which is a neuroscience term we're going to learn about tonight, which creates the schema for students so that they can make connections to the mathematics notation later on through these rich experiences. Who do I serve? Well, first and foremost, I serve students. And you can see on the left side of this picture, those are actually some of my students this year in one of our flexible seating areas of the classroom. And even these big kids at high school it is absolutely necessary to be able to use these sensory-based techniques. And what you're seeing here is having conversation, dialogue, Socratic seminar types of instructional techniques in math class. And oftentimes at the secondary level, we see these connections to English language arts, history, science, some of the other subject areas. But math always seems like this one other anomaly, this one other outlier that all of the initiatives that have come through just doesn't connect to. In addition to serving students, as I said, for the last 14 years and really the last 20 years, I serve the teachers directly. In order for me to impact as many students as possible, I serve the teachers because through the teachers, I can impact many more thousands of students. I serve elementary teachers who are just getting started on this math journey with students wanting to build strong foundations from the very beginning. I serve middle school students who are trying to close the gaps and build confidence and independence in math. I serve high school teachers who oftentimes are struggling to find intervention and support for students who are still struggling at the high school level and need some actual strategies to help with this high level content. But I also serve instructional coaches and school leaders. I coach the leaders on how to coach the teachers as well. So if you are here tonight, this is for you if you yourself are feeling frustrated, embarrassed by low test scores, stagnant test scores in mathematics, knowing that you yourself and your teachers in your schools are putting forth the greatest amount of effort, and teaching math and learning math is harder than it's ever been, overwhelmed by the pressures of mandates from the state and from the district. And although our job is getting so much harder to improve and scale math scores, we know more today about how the brain learns than ever before. You're exactly in the right place. This is exactly what this webinar has been created for. If you and your teachers have a mission to help students understand more deeply and perform better on mathematics assessments. We also know more than we ever did before, not only about the brain, but about instructional strategies. We know that the brain is key to learning. We know that there are certain explicit instructional delivery methods that target and trigger memory and retention of content. And when I say we know that now in general. However, our teachers don't. Our classroom teachers were not trained in neuroscience and cognitive science, especially our classroom teachers at the secondary level. So how do we bring this knowledge to our teachers? By the end of today, we will discover, number one, the 3 instructional mistakes limiting math achievement in our schools. Number 2, why math initiatives fail to produce lasting results. And number 3, a scalable model to improve math outcomes in every classroom and school-wide and district-wide. We're going to learn how each of these points directly relates to instructional methods targeting how the brain learns. Woo! Does that sound good? Drop a yes in the comments if anything that I've said has connected with you and if we are ready to learn about the brain
Ready.
and
We're
cognitive
ready.
science. Yes, we're ready. Are we
We're
seeing yes,
ready.
we're ready?
Yes, absolutely. Emily
Boom!
says absolutely. Also want to welcome Stacy Jones for coming out and joining us. Sounds good. So just a quick recap though, and I just always like to just make this delineation. So if you're hearing my voice, I'm off camera. Stacy, I'm helping Jonily here with the tech in the background. But so Jonily, at the very top level, you have a brand and it's called Minds on Math, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that's your website is mindsonmath.com. And
Yes.
then you've also got your book. So why don't you hold up your book real quick and show Stacy and anybody else who might have missed it. I know we're going to talk about it again, but it's so if you didn't, John Leo is going to show us in just a moment. She's a little bit of a Disney freak. So she loves, I'm sure it was no accident that making Mathaniers, does that sound like anything else we've heard before? Little Disney reference there, and that was on purpose. She loves Disney, right? Jonily, you are a Disney
Absolutely. And
fanatic. Yeah,
I'm very connected with how the Imagineers operate at Disney, hence
making
Mathaniers.
Mathaniers. So that's that. If you guys missed that connection, that was very intentional. And then the product and stuff that we're talking about tonight is called Math Testing Secrets, but it's all up underneath mindsonmath.com, right?
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
absolutely
I
perfect.
just like to like paint that picture for everybody. All right, Jonathan, we've got a bunch of yeses. Melissa says, I'm excited. This is what my team needs. Excited to share info with them next week.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. And remember at the end, we do have a grand prize, which is an hour Zoom session, not just for you, but you can schedule it with me to bring your team for a similar session like tonight and an extension of this session. So if you want that customized Zoom session, stay till the end because we're giving away one of those 60-minute sessions with me
Yep.
before we wrap up tonight.
Yeah, and I'm the one picking the prize, so be sure to comment throughout the presentation. I know you may or may not be able to see me right now because I'm off camera, but be sure to continue to comment, guys, because I'm going to pick a grand prize winner. All right, Jonathan, what you got for us?
Awesome. Again, I am Jonily Zupancic. I am going to be bringing to you all of the content tonight, but just some little fun stuff. Here's the Disney picture on the right, the Epcot ball. On the left, I told you I was going to tell you a little bit about my sports teams. We are season ticket holders for the Columbus Blue Jackets hockey. I say that loud and proud, even though they didn't make the playoffs again. But hey, you know what? We're not just fair weather fans. So that is my husband and I on the left at Nationwide Arena for hockey. And on the right is myself and my husband, my oldest son, Andon, who is 21, who actually, and Sonny, I didn't even tell you this. He got a job. He goes to college in Florida and he got a job at Legoland, like the big
No way.
amusement park,
Yeah,
Legoland. He started his training today and got his little Lego badge that says Andon. So that's super cool.
cool.
My other son is on the left there. That's my son Baylor. He is still in high school. And of course, me with my Mickey ears, spending my birthday at Disney. I really admire the way that Disney performs. I admire the way that Disney creates brand and business and exemplifies customer service. Disney gives those rich experiences. Disney is an experience. It's not an event. And I want to really make that connection again. Thank you, Sunny, for making that connection first. But going to Disney as an experience, it's not just an event. And what I am on a mission to do is create those really eye-opening, awe-inspiring experiences in math classrooms. And yes, it can be done. And there's my little furry kids. Lola's on the left and Loki's on the right, my bunnies. My kitchen is a bunny haven, and I love my little fur balls. I have been on a journey of a lifetime. I told that story at the beginning. I told some of the story, but when I began teaching in 1999 as a secondary math teacher, I was absolutely frustrated with the kids that came into my classroom every year. I started to play the blame game. Like, why do these kids not know? How did they get this far? And as a new teacher and as a teacher who wasn't trained in neuroscience and cognitive science, not only did I not know why they were coming in that way, but I didn't know how to fix it. So I have been on this journey studying test results, types of tests, the power standards and essential standards of mathematics, how the brain operates to actually learn mathematics, and how to deliver that to students. The problem. I don't even know that I need to address the problem, but I am going to very explicitly here. The problem today is, and I'll just give you a few data points. One is the NAEP test, which is the National Assessment of Educational Progress, quote unquote, the nation's report card. The most current scores that came out in 2024 show that nearly 40% of eighth graders score below the basic math level. Only 27% of eighth graders score proficient, and only 22% score proficient in the 12th grade for math. These are all of the percentages for mathematics. We also know that a third of the students that go to college, so these are students that are going to college, a third of the students that go to college must take remedial math courses because they cannot test into courses for credit during their first year. This is a nationwide problem, and not only is it not getting better, it continues to get worse. This is not a teacher problem. This is a training gap problem. Teachers have never been trained in how the brain processes math, how to build retention, and how to develop reasoning. So instruction defaults to the patterns that limit learning, which negate then the learning that needs to happen to scale math achievement.
Jonily. So you're speaking right to me on that one because in previous presentations, I had explained that I ended up changing my major to English and with a minor in poetry because I tried to get into earth and planetary sciences, and my scores, even though I was an honors student all the way through high school, and then in college, I was in the honors dorms and honors classes, I got called into the counselor's office in college, and they asked me if I, quote, have you ever had math ever? I scored so low. I laugh now because I knew it wasn't my strong point, but it was became a running joke in the family. My mom thinks she's not good at math, and my dad thought he wasn't good at math. And then, oddly enough, we have a brother. My brother ended up with his degree in math and physics, who married another woman with math and physics and geological engineering. So we're not sure how that happened. But what I can honestly say is everything that you just said is this guy right here. Like I
Oh,
literally got called in and they sat down and you had written that example before we had met. And I just think that's, I mean, I think it's funny, but it's true. And I literally have wired the things that I do in my life around whether or not I have to do certain kinds of math. I really did. So
absolutely.
like I'm the end result. I was kidding. But with that, I would also like to just quickly ask the folks in the audience as you go is before you explain the rest of this, because you've explained the problem. On a scale of 1 to 10, guys, I would love to know, I'm just curious, like because John Lee, we were talking about this earlier. Just play along with us just for a second. Drop a comment on a scale of 1 to 10, of course, 1 being low and 10 being high. Where do you guys think that you guys are right now with your math program? Like, Are you five? Are you middle of the road? Are you kind of got your, you know what, together? Are you like an eight, or maybe you got it nailed and you're a 10? Like, I have no idea. I would love to see just kind of like ballpark. All right, Stacy says that they're a six. Melissa says five. Oh, Linda's a four. Okay. And then Crystal, I can't remember. I can't remember your number. Emily says six. Let's see what number? Crystal six. Okay. It's almost 8675309. I'm just kidding. 867. All right. So middle of the pack right there, Jonily. So I'm sure everybody's got some more stories for you. But I'll just turn that back over to you and let's hear what you got to say about solving the problem.
Absolutely. And along with the problem, we face many challenges to overcome the problem of declining test scores, stagnant test scores, a lack of math achievement in many schools and districts. So, first, let's talk about the requirements and the mandates, school day, hours, time, trying to fit everything in. For those of you, if you are school leaders here tonight, which is who we were targeting this evening, you either don't eat lunch or you're eating lunch on the run or eating while you're in the cafeteria, running cafeteria duty. I mean, we know the pressures of the school day and the fires that we put out constantly. Every day feels like the perfect storm. Learning gaps are widening. Teachers are oftentimes in tears. Reduced attention spans are at the height of classrooms with students right now. Here's the good news though. There is a way to minimize the time and the effort and increase results with your current programs. Next, I want to talk about the curriculum materials and the current programs that you have and the textbooks. Everything that is published and adopted deliver math in a traditional checklist type of way. They teach a piece of content. Kids practice it within a unit or a chapter. They take quizzes and then an end of chapter test. And we get varied results on those tests. But oftentimes we get better results than we do on end of course tests or state achievement tests. And the reason is we get many false positives when we get these unit-based textbook type of test results because we're studying one thing at a time and there is no out of context, mixed, multi-concept assessment. So the first time students see something of that experience or that nature is when they sit down to take the end of course assessment that the state provides at the end of the year. Classrooms and the materials that we're using do not replicate the experience that students have to go through when they sit down to take a cumulative assessment, high stakes assessment. So what we want to do is replicate the kind of mathematics thinking and reasoning that students have to do on those types of assessments. We've already spent, let's just say this, hundreds of thousands of dollars on materials, and we're not getting any better results. So our next move is to change materials. The next move for state departments is to change which math programs are acceptable for adoption. And we think bringing in new programs, new textbooks, new interventions are going to fix the problem, but they continuously do not fix the problem. So after all of this investment, we are not getting any more returns. Schools are typically responding with adding more, but adding more doesn't relate to better. Our students are not getting the best instruction because the teachers aren't being trained on the best instruction. And finally, the materials that we're using are good. I love me a good textbook and intervention thing and program. And all of them that are out there are intending to do the best things for teachers and students. And there are great things inside these resources. But how they are delivered and instructed can be shifted so that we can target thinking, reasoning, and sense making in the brain. One size doesn't fit all. I have 5 different teachers using 5 different programs and getting the same result, but I also have 5 different teachers using the same program and getting different results. The reason is the instructional delivery is what's going to change the outcome. Research shows that the number one factor in student achievement is the quality of the teacher. The quality of the teacher is directly related to the instructional techniques that they're using, and those are enhanced if the teacher understands cognitive science and neuroscience. Because one size doesn't fit all, I can use the same textbook and program. I can use the same problems of that program, but the way that I pace and map that program is what we hold a unique method for. I will also say that one of our greatest challenges is the lack of understanding of how to close math achievement gaps when students don't come in with fluency and number sense, which are the foundational pieces to high math achievement. Does any of this sound familiar? Drop me a yes in the comments if it does. Does any of this resonate with you? If it does resonate with you, not only are you in the right place, but you're going to walk away tonight with some immediate solutions to share with your staff and your colleagues. Are you ready to break free? We've talked about many of the common struggles. Now let's talk about the solutions that are going to help students understand math faster, retain concepts longer, perform better, and it all starts with instructional shifts. How are we looking at the comments? I didn't
Nothing
pull
but
the comments
yeses.
up.
Yep. We got yes,
Okay.
yes, very much so. Yes, yes, yes.
You're like, stop it, Jonily, get on with it. Like, tell us what to do. Here we go. The 3 secrets to go above and beyond to scale math achievement are these. Number 1, we're going to learn tonight about the 3 common instructional mistakes teachers make that quietly cause students to struggle, disengage, and fail math tests, not at the fault of the teacher. Number 2, we are going to learn how simple instructional shifts can dramatically improve math test scores and student achievement using the textbook resources and programs that are currently in place. We are just going to talk about how to deliver those materials differently. And number 3, how the TSA framework, which we'll learn about in a moment, helps students and teachers understand the math faster so that teachers get better results in less time and math achievement scales beyond historical measures. Secret number 1, the 3 common instructional mistakes, unintentional instructional mistakes that teachers are making that quietly cause students to struggle, disengage, and fail math tests. Number 1, focusing on solving. And you might say, but Jonily, that's what mathematics is. It's about solving. The mathematical experience has nothing to do with solving. The outcome is solving. We want students to be able to solve accurately, efficiently, and effectively. However, when we focus on the outcome, we lose sight of the process. When we focus on solving, we lose sight of thinking, reasoning, and sense making. So when students sit down to take a high stakes test, they are then conditioned and trained to focus on solving. And if they don't know how to solve, they do nothing. They end up being paralyzed. However, if we focus on thinking, reasoning, and sense making, and students are trained to think, reason, and sense make, they then can confidently make sense of what is in front of them, make sense of the problem, make sense of the task, and solving then becomes an outcome. I'm going to make a couple of statements right now. Solving is not learning. Solving is not learning. Solving is practicing. Solving is practicing. Solving is not learning. In the learning process and the experience we want to create in our math classrooms must focus on thinking, reasoning, and sense making. And the outcome of solving is scaled for our results.
And to that point, Jonily, I feel like
Yes.
I was that student that got really good at just doing the one. So I'm a pattern person, so I can emulate a pattern over and over again. And there's certain areas of life that that's great at, but you're exactly right. When it came to, the same concept, but they'd throw a different to change up the problem, I was toast. I was like, outside in, inside out. What do I do? Ah! Then I would panic and I forgot to say something earlier too, like just to kind of like set the context about how bad I was at math. I wasn't horrible necessarily at, I was actually really good and enjoyed my algebra classes. But we were talking about this the other day when I was in my geometry and my, what was the other one I told you I was really bad at with a sine, cosine, tangent, whatever that was for real.
Trigonometry.
Yeah, trig. I literally, it's a big long story about how I checked out that whole semester and purposely got a D or an F and walked out. And I tell that story on a different webinar, not to brag, but it was just like, I was so far down that rabbit hole that semester in high school, there was no point in, anyway, it's not about me. What I'm saying is that the tool, I didn't have access to the tools. I was on the honor roll. I was trying my damnedest, honestly, with everything. And it just got to a point where I was like, I don't know what these people want. It's not like I was the bad student. I was trying. and I
Absolutely.
and I couldn't get it to stick.
And often what happens is students like Sunny will at times on unit quizzes or even the unit or chapter test
Yeah.
might actually perform pretty well after
Yep.
that repetition of
Yep.
mimicking and
Yep.
practicing.
Yep.
But then the retention doesn't stick.
Nope.
And the reason is we haven't triggered the brain to remember and retain the information because we focused on one thing at a time and we focused on the mimicking, solving, and practicing
Right.
rather than the thinking, reasoning, and sense making. And that's exactly how textbook structures are set up. So when I said before, well, I didn't say it this way, but I'll say it this way now. I have a love-hate relationship with textbooks. Anything from Envision to Eureka to Ready Math to I'm going to leave a whole bunch of them out. But Reveal, whatever textbook programs are out there or digital resources that we use, IXL, iReady, MobyMax, Alex, Map, whatever it is we're using, all have really great solving pieces. But what they don't have are those pieces that are going to trigger the memory in the brain because we're only focusing on solving one thing at a time. We get a lot of false positives from kids then. What that
Sure.
means is they might score well on a chapter test, but then we wonder why they're not scoring well on standardized tests.
I guarantee if you would have given me a Twizzler, it would have stuck.
And
I
why is
associate,
so
I love candy. No, it would have stuck. I like colors, I like patterns, and I like texture, and I like just, make it make sense, you know?
Absolutely. And what does make it stick is when I talked before about those sensory based experiences, multisensory approaches to instruction, not just in mathematics, but everywhere, we know triggers that retention in the brain. And Sunny just mentioned a lot of those. Kids need to create associations and connections, And if they can't do it on their own, we as teachers have to help them explicitly create those with those tangible effects that we're giving to them so that they connect their mathematical experiences with something that they're going to remember. Mistake number two. This might be really weird, but one of the most common mistakes is finishing everything. Here's what I mean by this. When we focus on solving and students solve a problem, oop, how did I go on mute? Sorry.
Sorry, I was letting someone in and it slipped.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Mistake number two, finishing everything. This is going to sound really weird, but by focusing on solving and answering every question, solving every problem, meaning finishing everything, you have kids who can, you have kids who can't, and then a whole lot in the middle. By focusing on solving and finishing everything, we've already set up a huge learning gap in our classroom that needs much more effort for differentiation. But if we focus on thinking, reasoning, and sense making and not finishing everything, we close that gap and we create a level playing field in our classrooms. So, for example, let's suppose I ask a math question or show some kind of equation, and instead of asking students to solve, I'm going to ask them to tell me about. I'm going to gain their perspective. Now, if you are trained in science of reading, and I do keep mentioning that because that is very universal in our country right now, but if you are trained in science of reading, you know that schema is very important. Background knowledge is very important. And when students don't have background knowledge, they suffer in any type of achievement in the content area at grade level. So because we know that many students struggle with this schema is what we already know from our previous experiences, that they struggle with math background knowledge, that they have deficits in skills. By asking students to tell me about, I can find out what their background is and what their knowledge is by having them think, reason, and sense make. When I ask students to tell me about, which are my favorite three words, second favorite three words, I love you, but my first favorite three words are tell me about. When I ask students to tell me about, it levels the playing field. We're no longer solving, but we're thinking, reasoning, and sense making. Then when I ask them to tell me about and share their ideas, some students will automatically start to solve. What I will intentionally do as a teacher is not confirm or deny. Because once I confirm or deny the student's accuracy or inaccuracy, I've just finished that problem. And I don't want to finish everything. The neuroscience behind this is if I leave some questions unanswered and some problems not solved, this creates a cognitive dissonance. This cognitive dissonance is necessary for our subconscious brain to ignite. If I answer every question and solve every problem within a class period, there is no reason for a student's subconscious brain to activate. We need students' subconscious brains to activate so that they continuously think about the mathematics without even being aware that they're thinking about the mathematics. We need their subconscious brain to activate so that when they go to sleep at night, we know that the subconscious brain is solidified during sleep. We don't know this as educators and as leaders of educators. We have not been trained in the neuroscience and cognitive science, which is why there is a huge push for science of reading. Science of math is upon us. And we as schools and districts can either choose to get ahead of the curve and be the model for other schools, or we can be reactive later when mandates are pushed down to us by the states and by our district personnel. Common mistake number 3 is studying one thing at a time. I've mentioned this a few times. I have a love-hate relationship with textbooks because although textbooks are wonderful for number selection, for problems, they are a saving grace for teachers. Teachers don't have to create absolutely everything. But the way that textbooks are structured is the opposite of the way that the brain learns mathematics. There's one chapter at a time, one section at a time. And by pacing and streamlining and creating this linear map, the way that the textbooks are laid out is the exact barrier to scaling math achievement in our schools and districts. So I want to just go back so you can see these slides again. The 3 common mistakes: focusing on solving. The opposite of this is we want to focus on thinking, reasoning, and sense making. Common mistake number 2, finishing everything. The opposite of this that we want to do is leave some questions unanswered and some problems unsolved. Let some of the mathematics linger to activate the subconscious mind. And by studying one thing at a time, we never create experiences that students need when they sit down to take a high stakes test in which they have to answer math questions that are from all of the curriculum, one after the other. I coached a teacher. Her name was Annie, and she was, at the time that I was coaching her, she was a 5th-year teacher, and she was about to leave the profession. I knew exactly how she felt because that's where I was almost 15 years prior. Again, she was tired. Let's just say she was tired. She was, oh my gosh, just discouraged and frustrated and sick to her stomach every day when she came in, thinking that she is a failure and not making a difference with students. What I said to her was, let's analyze some of your instruction. Look at some of the unintentional mistakes that your instruction might have that are barriers to learning. Let's create some lessons that are going to teach more content in less time, that are focused on the cognitive structures of how the brain actually learns. And she said, Jonily, I am your grasshopper. So we went in collaboratively one year. I intensely coached her. And after just 3 weeks, we had students trained to independently attack mathematics very different than what she had seen in all of her years past. And in Annie's classroom, she had students who were severe learning disabilities, processing issues, severe behavior handicaps. All of the terminology has changed over the years. We also had students that had extreme cognitive delays in her classroom. We had many typical students. 27% of her students at the beginning of her 6th grade year, Annie taught 6th grade, 27% of her students during this cohort when I was coaching her, only 27% passed their end of year 5th grade math state test. So she did have 27% of the students that did pass, but a whole lot of kids that didn't. And of those students that didn't pass the 5th grade end of course, many of those students never passed an end of course math test in their school career. At the end of 6th grade, through these instructional shifts, Annie's kids, her cohort, 64% of them passed on this achievement test. She went from 27% of them passing to 64% of them passing, and 92% of them showed growth on value added measures. Jackie, another teacher in fourth grade, took her students in 2 years from 65% passing to 84% passing. I mean, these are results that are unheard of in schools. And these weren't even school wide initiatives. These were individual teachers that tried these methods and had that consistent coaching and scaled their math results. And then they became the people that other teachers and other schools were asking, what did you do?
So real quick, Jonily, so that can you go back a slide real quick?
Yes.
And probably everybody else already knows this on here, but just to reiterate this, what so 84% was that like is that an average across the classroom? Is that how it works?
That was the 84% of the fourth grade students passed.
Okay, of in the classroom. Oh,
Yes.
okay. All right.
So oftentimes our achievement scores are reported in the number of students that pass, but based on a percent.
Got it.
And in many cases, I was working, there was a client one year, just to put this into perspective, there was a client that I was working with one year that in their high school, students that were taking Algebra 1 in high school, which means these were not the students that took Algebra 1 in eighth grade. So they didn't have enough prerequisite skills to take Algebra 1 early. So they were taking algebra in high school.
Okay.
Historically, they only had about 4% of their students that could pass the Algebra 1. So
Okay.
after just 1 year of some of the teachers using even just some of these methods, they increased the number of students that passed to 23%,
Dang.
which is outstanding when you're looking at where they came from. Secret number two, what are these instructional shifts that dramatically improve the test scores that I just mentioned in those case studies? And how do these shifts not only improve test scores, but overall student achievement? Again, using our current textbook resources and programs that are currently in place. Most students never get the help they need because our teachers lack the instructional delivery methods to create these triggers in the brain. So because the students don't get what they need, our teachers become disassociated with their success. Teachers feel like a failure and believe that they need to leave the profession because they are not good enough. But our teachers have discovered along the way that they were not trained to do what our schools are asking them to do. And that is to create high levels of memory, remembering, retention of the content, which then leads to confidence and independence and success for students. These experiences require multisensory approaches. And this is where I come in, and I'm going to show you a couple of examples now. When we think about STEAM or STEM, the outcome is we want an integrated. Now, in cognitive science, there is a term that sort of kind of means integrated. So in STEAM and STEM, we want this integrated approach so that students have connections and associations with the content, which research shows help them achieve higher. But in cognitive science, there is a strategy called interleaving. Interleaving is very much like what we're trying to do in STEAM and STEM, which is create these connections interdisciplinary. Cognitive science says that interleaving is studying many different things at the same time that appear unrelated and discrete, but through specific task-based experiences, create connections among things that don't seem to be connected. When textbooks lay out the year of mathematics and the standards, textbooks do not create these integrated, interleaving experiences that we at Minds on Math create when we're developing Mathaniers. One of the ways that we do that is create digital resources that are visual to help improve fluency. You'll see that on the right here. The top one is called Quick Dots, and the bottom is 120 chart. Not only do we use multisensory, visual, concrete, contextual, conceptual experiences, but we name each of the individual tasks that we use as a technique for these sensory experiences. So if I use, like you see on the right above, what I call quick dots, if I use a quick dot in second grade and a quick dot in sixth grade and a quick dot in Algebra 1, students have had multiple interactions with this sensory technique, with this cognitive science strategy, so that they get multiple repetitions over time and consistency throughout the grades. This cognitive approach to instruction, if you look at the middle of this screen with that square root symbol, you may not be familiar. Some of you as school leaders may not have the math background to be able to help teachers see these connections. But in the middle, you see that green box. It's sitting under what we call a square root symbol. We have a cognitive task that is an experience like the Twizzlers that we call the pizza problem. And the pizza problem is as simple as a pizza company makes square pizzas. Well, then we teach the mathematics notations and symbols and standards through the pizza problem. So we have students build square pizzas. We have students draw square pizzas. Then when we introduce the square root symbol, we can use this cognitive association by saying that the square root of 16 means that you've made a pizza, a square pizza, with exactly 16 pieces. You can see the visual, the associative piece of how students will connect math concepts, notations, and skills, and our standards to this forever learning cognitive connection. So when you look at the green box, you see 16 unit squares of pizzas. Those are the 16 individual pieces of pizza. Well, what stage number is this? What size pizza is it? It's a 4 by 4. That is the definition of square root. The square root of 16 is 4 because I can make a square pizza that is 4 by 4 that has 16 pieces. And what we've done at Minds on Math is we've taken some of these high-level, rich mathematical notations, not only introduced them a little earlier than what the standards tell us to, but we introduce them in a cognitive way that the brain can make associations through these sensory-based experiences. Imagine this. Imagine next school year in March, and we are recording this, so I'm not sure when you're watching this recording. We're actually recording this in April of the school year. So you're either just at the end of testing season or you're just finishing testing season. That's the perspective that I'm delivering this webinar with today. But if any of you are watching this on a recording and it's a different time of year, I want you to think from that seasonal perspective. So imagine this. Imagine next school year in March or even February when teachers are panicked, they're anxious, testing is upon us. Maybe they haven't gotten through all of the content. They sure as heck haven't gotten through their entire textbook. They know they haven't taught all of the standards because they were trying to teach for mastery. They ran out of time. But imagine your teachers walking this journey with us with an offer that we're going to share with you at the end of this webinar for the entire next school year. And by March 1st, they not only have taught all of their content standards, they have finished all of their concepts with students, Their students, the majority of them, have mastered all the content by March 1st. And so now we just have bonus time before the test. Imagine in less than a year, your school psyche is completely different on March 1st. Secret number 3.
Wait, let's stop right
Okay,
there.
okay,
Guys,
okay. Woo!
that was a lot. That was a lot of really good information. Guys, drop a comment down below. Let us know what that would feel like. Like, what are you guys imagining that would feel like? What does the other side of that look like? Crystal says, OMG. Let's see, who else? Kelly, Linda, Stacy, Emily. Oh, and Emily had another comment. She said the evolution of knowledge through repeated routines must make so many students' math light bulbs switch on.
Learning becomes automatic rather than something that students strive for.
Yeah. Emily says empowering. Yeah, and that's the reason we want to get the message out about what Jonily is not just promoting, of course I've got a marketing background, like couldn't hack it in math. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm very happy with my career. But she's on a bigger mission, you guys, and I think you guys can hear her heart in everything that she's doing here tonight. Like, how many years you've been beating that drum about math, Jonily?
26.
26 years. Like, come on. Come on. I don't know of anybody that passionate in any other field also. I know they're out there, but I just want to kudos to you. I mean, who else do we know that has a sign behind them that says today's a good day for math? I mean, come on. You wear your heart on your sleeve, and I love that about you, Jonily. All right, so why don't you show us the problem, the answer to all these problems?
Secret number 3 is what we call the TSA framework. I'm going to teach a little bit of it to you now. I've already kind of taught you some of these things that we do with our teachers. I'm going to show you some concrete, specific, tangible takeaways that the TSA framework provides that I've been talking about. And I'm going to show you some visuals of this as well. I want you to think that using a typical traditional textbook type of teaching is kind of like you just jump on the plane and you take off. There's no pre-work. So the TSA at an airport is that security check. Oftentimes, teachers take off with a lesson before we do any of this security check with students' brains. The TSA framework is think, stimulate, associate. So we want to go through this checkpoint before we take off with our regular lesson of the day. So let me show you what the regular lesson of the day might be. It might be a problem like this. And this actually is from a test release question. It's also very similar to a textbook question. So instead of giving that question and asking students to solve, remember the T means we want students to think. So I'm going to go back to my 3 favorite words, tell me about. The initial prompt for the thinking checkpoint is tell me about. What I've done here is I've taken a traditional textbook problem. We do this for teachers in our programs, but we also teach teachers how to do this themselves with a quick picture crop. So I've removed all the noise that gets rid of solving and answer getting. And by removing the noise, I can heighten thinking, reasoning, and sense making. So the first step in the TSA model before we take off with our solving lesson is to allow students to think, and I must prompt that with tell me about and by removing the noise. The next prompt I will ask students is, what math questions do you think are going to be asked for this number? So how does this TSA work? Well, in the T, we ask students to think, and in the S, we give a little more of the prompt. I just put the minus sign in there. The S is for stimulating thinking, and stimulating thinking triggers a deeper level of, you might have heard of depth of knowledge, some of these initiatives that have come through, a deeper level of knowledge so that students begin to connect their own schema, their own background knowledge, their own perspective to the notations and symbols of mathematics. I will ask students again, now tell me about this situation now that I've added this minus sign. A is association. Association is bringing in those sensory-based experiences so that students have a visual or color-based or concrete connection to the numbers and symbols. For example, I might show two bars. Each bar is divided into four parts. Again, I'm going to use my favorite three words. Tell me about how this visual relates to those numbers and symbols. So through think, stimulate, associate, I've gone through that TSA checkpoint and we've not done any solving yet. What this trains the students' brains to do on a daily basis is to look at a problem like this on a standardized test situation, and we've trained students' brains themselves to remove the noise, to think about each number individually, to deeper think about the symbols that are associated. And after I've done that thinking, deep thinking, reasoning, and sense making, and I am now going to associate this with any other Twizzler, pizza problem, bar model experience that I've had, students' brains are trained to think, reason, and sense make before actually solving. But that must be replicated and repeated on a daily basis in math class. One of the other examples of how we use the TSA and how we train teachers to use the TSA is what we call two-column worksheets. You'll see this worksheet with a dotted line down the middle. On the right side are task cards. Teachers simply cut on this dotted line, cut out the task cards to give students. The task cards are embedded in thinking, stimulating, and associating. TSA, think, stimulate, associate. We give the prompts. All the teachers have to do is cut out the task cards. On the left side of this, there are teacher facilitation questions and prompts to help facilitate the task cards that students are using. And I just show this with some highlights. The left side are the teacher facilitation guide, and on the right side are the task cards that are copy cut and ready for teachers to use with students. Teachers know from this large document that we're going to offer to you at the end, they know that the pages that have the dotted line down the middle are the pages that they can print, copy, and cut and give to students for their task cards. Now, why does all this work? It works because it triggers the cognitive functions of the brain to make thinking, reasoning, sense making, and stimulation and associations, connections to how the brain actually remembers experiences. This method works because it's targeted to the neuroscience of how the brain actually learns anything, but it minds on math, how the brain actually learns specifically mathematics. And everybody benefits. If you're familiar with dyslexia training, what's necessary for some is beneficial for all, from our gifted students to our most struggling students, to our typical students, students in urban schools, private schools, suburban schools, large schools, small schools. This method provides benefits for everyone. Are you ready to stop struggling? I love this. I love this. Or as I like to say, get off the struggle bus once and for all. Imagine this fall, you've introduced your teachers to some of these strategies over the summer, and they walk in this fall with a new, profound excitement and joy for delivering math instruction in their classroom. My team is here to support you every step of the way, whether it's attending more training events like this, purchasing some of our digital courses, coming to your school or district, I have to give a disclaimer. We at Minds on Math are booked for in-person on-site coming to your school for the 2026-2027 school year. I cannot come to you. Now, don't fear. There is good news. I can come to you and support you virtually, but our on-site in-person days, me flying to you, are booked for next school year, 26-27. We are currently booking for the 2027-2028 school year. I want to give that disclaimer for this slide because yes, we do this, but we are booking out over a year ahead right now. I'd like to pause for a moment and ask what questions we might have. And if you could in the chat, and I'm going to look at the chat for what comments and questions we already have, but what questions you have about what you've heard tonight, could you put those questions in the chat for us, please? I'm going to read what Kelly has in the chat here while we're waiting on some of your questions to go in the chat. After science of reading training focused over the past few years, this makes so much sense. Yes, it does. And Kelly, we have replicated that for mathematics. I didn't even know I was doing this 20 years ago. I just feel like I've been put in the right place at the right time because what I've been studying all these years is exactly, I'm in the right place at the right time with the right content.
Sure.
But Kelly also says establishing the focus on math practices, thinking strategies, and the TSA framework is so succinct. Genius, thank you. I live, eat, breathe, sleep this. You will find me on a Friday night at 10 p.m. creating more of this. And you guys, I don't know if all of you were here when I said this, but I've been on tour for about the past 14 years after I was in the classroom for 15 years. So for the last 14 years, I've not been teacher of record of my own classes. I've partnered with teachers in schools and worked with students in classrooms, but they've been other teacher students. This year, I went back into the classroom. I currently teach high school Algebra 2 and Algebra 1. So I went from like doing all of this training to, you know what, put your money where your mouth is, Jonily, and get back into the classroom. And I did. And it's working even better than when I was in the classroom before. Questions, though?
So while they're doing that, I do want to go ahead and pick Kelly Borsma as the second winner of
Kelly!
of the book boxes. So if you, I don't know if you saw that when she came on. Okay, so like I said, Jonily has written the book. Sorry, I'm I'm tired. Let me see the front. Making Matheniers. I'm sorry about that. Making
That's okay.
Matheniers, and this box comes with 4 copies of her book that you can, pass out to your fellow teachers or anybody else in your community that who's teaching math who could benefit from that. Just as a quick side note too, while we're waiting for some questions. Also, Jonily, you also teach on Saturdays. Was it once a month? You tell us about your math Saturday. It's called
Absolutely.
Saturday Math.
Saturday Math, we've been doing for 8 years. It is a virtual math professional development event, mainly for teachers, but also for school leaders, principals, instructional coaches, parents. And their trainings, sort of like this. It's not as much a webinar as it is a session. Once a month is a free Saturday Math professional development session that teachers come to sometimes every single month. Our next one is May 2nd. We will make sure when we do a follow-up email, we'll send you to the registration link for the Saturday Math next session. But yes, we do offer a free Saturday Math online once a month for teachers because I see a question in here from Emily. How do you introduce TSA to teachers who are unenthusiastic about math as an entity? And this is actually kind of our bread and butter because when we do, especially like a Saturday Math or a free event or something like a webinar like this, when those reluctant teachers even see a portion of that, they're like, I can do this. Like, I seriously can do this. And what we do in many of our paid events is we break it down so simple. And teachers are like, oh, but do I have to do this every day? And does it take 40 minutes? And how long does it take? Those are some of our typical questions. I actually target this to what I call 6 minute math. So even if you do 6 minute math 3 times a week, so what I like to do is I like to pull down those barrier walls so that teachers are like, okay, I can at least do that. And then once we actually take action and we actually start, action over perfection. And I tell teachers all the time, you can't wait to have it all figured out before you start, or you never will. Because honestly, you'll never have it all figured out. I still don't have it all figured out. And so I try to encourage teachers action over perfection. So there are lots of different enrollment entry experiences that I give to teachers that put all of those barriers aside and give them some of just the limited grab and go that they can do tomorrow that doesn't take a lot of time. Also, in elementary school, many elementary teachers would say they don't know the math themselves. Here's what's really beautiful. Our trainings not only teach you how to teach the math, but because remember I said research shows the number one factor in student achievement is the quality of the teacher, also the content knowledge of the teacher. So not only do we teach you how to deliver the mathematics, but we also teach you the math content that you never learn in school because we're a product of our system.
Hey, Jonily, real quick,
Yes.
why don't you advance the slides, go forward two, and then go back one?
Go forward to.
There. What if all teachers are not implementing?
And this is a great question. And as I shared with Annie and Jackie and some of the stories that I shared, it's actually better if all teachers are not implementing at the same time. It's almost better if you have sort of a leadership team of teachers who are interested in trying something new and do that for a year. Is actually better than like force feeding a whole new implementation because we know how sour that tastes all the time. And then one of our other questions we get a lot is what grade levels is this for? It is for every grade level, preschool through high school, primarily kindergarten through 12th grade, and in all phases using all curriculum resources. One of the other questions we get is how do I fit it all in? What we do is we define essentials. I didn't even talk about that tonight, but if everything is important, nothing is important. We think we have too many standards to teach, but we don't. There are not too many standards to teach, but the way that textbooks are designed make us perceive that there are. There's too
Mhm.
many pages to teach,
I would believe that.
not too many standards to teach.
So really quick, Emily says she loves that there are multiple points of entry for teachers. And Stacy says, where do you suggest I have my high school math teacher start?
Saturday math. Or we're about to show you something that I would suggest even more. Every year we have a June event. We're going to share this in just a moment. But our June event every year, this is our 15th annual June event, is the perfect starting point for teachers. Any other questions out there, Sunny, before I review and then
Let's see. Okay, we had Kelly had asked, is your Saturday math aligned to a specific grade level standards ever, or is it simply strategy based regardless of the standard?
both? So I'm going to give you an example of the pizza problem task again. Many of Also what we provide are resources that we give a PDF copy of the task and the strategies, but we also show from kindergarten through high school which math standards at every single grade level that one task aligns to.
You're good.
All right. So, do I have your permission to show you how you can be worry free and how you can get started right now? This is actually the answer to some of your questions anyway on where do my teachers start? Do I have permission to share this with you? Drop a yes if I do.
Stacy says absolutely. Yes, yes, clappy hand. Yes. Yep. By the way, I love that picture of you. I think it's so math teacher of you.
Will the real Jesus please stand up? Please stand up. I want to partner with you, and I'm about to show you how. Our offer tonight is this. It is called the Math Achievement Accelerator Bundle. This really, ironically, is answering the question, where do I even start in my school and with my teachers? This is the perfect starting point. The offer tonight is absolutely the answer to that question. It is a three-part bundle. It is a three-product bundle. The top is what I mentioned just a moment ago, which is our June math event. This is our 15th annual June math event that is virtual, 3 hours on Thursday, June 4th, 2026. And the title of this is Math Fluency in 5 Days. It has all of what you've heard tonight because the way that we teach this is through our TSA framework. But we give a 5 day blueprint and a slide deck and PDF resources targeted to every single grade level in how to launch the TSA framework in 5 days, including slide decks, including mathematical examples, test release questions from a variety of states, and questions from a variety of textbooks. Our annual June event is $250 per person to attend the virtual training. And if teachers or participants cannot attend live, you just pay the registration fee and you get all of the resources plus the recorded video of the training. That by itself is $250. From the June event, every year in June, we launch what we call a Math Teacher Mastermind. The Math Teacher Mastermind is launched in June and then progresses for one full school year of virtual teacher training, coaching, and support. So teachers have the opportunity to go back and implement in their classrooms, and we meet once a month virtually to coach. It's a live group coaching call on how the teachers have implemented, what obstacles they have faced, what successes they've had, so that we mastermind together and learn from each other. And then through teachers' implementations, I customize the coaching and training based on what they bring back each month from their situation. We meet virtually once a month from August through May, but in August, we meet once a week. If teachers can't come to every single one of those sessions, they are all recorded and available by replay so that if they don't attend live, they still get access to all of the training and resources. Our Math Teacher Mastermind is $800 per teacher to join the mastermind. The third value on here is an added bonus. We've just finished launching our Math Testing Secrets virtual self-study course that includes 3 video lessons, 7 hours of instruction and training, 135-page document like the 2-column worksheets that I showed you in this session, and 12 audio lessons. Teachers say to me all the time, Jonily, I come to your professional developments. Then I go back and I try to implement it, and it's like I've never heard you teach me. I get this all the time. And so what I have done with all of the tasks and all of our problems and everything that I teach is I've combined a library of audio files of me going into the classrooms in the past 15 years and actually teaching these lessons with students. I record the audios and you get to listen to how I actually teach what I'm teaching you to the actual students. So this Math Testing Secrets bundle comes with 12 of those audio lessons that you can listen to me teaching to students at all different grade levels from kindergarten through high school algebra 2. This entire bundle is our offer for this evening, and it is $997 per teacher at your school. The total value is over $2,000. You get all three. There is a limited time on this. You must email to me. I'll show you my email in a moment and tell you how to proceed. You must take action by May 10th to lock in this discount. However, the additional discount is if you're only purchasing for 1 to 5 teachers or you're only purchasing for yourself, it is $997 per teacher. However, we scale this because we know for larger schools and larger districts, you might say, Jonily, I have 30 teachers I want to do this. There's no way that my district is going to spend $1,000 a teacher. No worries. The more teachers that you have registered for this bundle, now remember in the bundle, you get the June event, the entire membership to the Math Teacher Mastermind, plus the full virtual self-study course. And if you have 30 teachers, it's less than $600 per teacher to take advantage of this bundle, the Math Achievement Accelerator tonight. So how do you proceed? If you want to purchase this bundle for your teachers, we know that the purchase order process, the acceptance order process takes time. But you must email me to get the process started before May 10th. Email me at Jonily at mindsonmath.com. Let me know that you are at this webinar and you are interested in registering teachers for the bundle or registering yourself for the bundle. At that point, I'll need to know how many teachers, and I will let you know what the price is per teacher, what your total cost is, so that you can start the purchase order process.
And just to make that really quick, let me pop in
Yes.
here. May 10th is Mother's Day. So Sunday, May 10th at midnight is the cut for the discount.
Thank you, Sunny.
Yeah.
Very
So that's
good.
another, think, stimulate, associate.
Yeah, I love it. Think, stimulate, associate. That's the association. It's Mother's Day. You're going to be sitting there celebrating if you're a mom, or if you're not a mom, you're going to be celebrating with your mom or somebody else's mom and a mom and a mom and a mom. You might be having hot dogs. You might be at the Olive Garden, and you might be like, oh, shoot, I need to let Jonily know we're moving ahead with this bundle.
There you go.
All right, kids. Sunny,
Yep. Drum roll. I got it right
want to
here.
give someone a 60-minute Zoom session. It says one-on-one, but it could be with your team. So if you're like, where do I start with all this? I don't know. Maybe you'll win this prize tonight and you'll get to start in. Now, this is good until September. So you can take advantage of this 60-minute like next week or in May, June, July, August, September. So there's a lot of flexibility and I will customize it to your time that's convenient for you and your team. So Sunny, who's going to get an hour with me?
My drum roll. Emily Contini. Emily,
Emily!
congratulations.
So Emily, if you can just send me an email,
She's
we'll
like,
get in.
yay!
Yay, Emily. We will connect. Send me an email. That triggers me. I'll get in touch with you if I don't see an email from you. And at that point, we will go back and forth a little while with email on what exactly this is and when to get it scheduled and who you want there. And maybe you don't have all those answers right now, but start the process. And this is absolutely free to you. This is your prize, the grand prize for being here today and being very participatory in the chat today.
You know what, Jonily?
Yes.
I'm going to pop one, just a little surprise on you. I want to give everybody here a copy of your book.
Yes.
Yes, let's do it.
Yes.
So Johnny and Kelly Bursma, those are the two winners of the box sets. So those guys are taken care of, but I want to make sure that everybody also gets a copy of Jonily's book. So Stacy Jones, Linda Golston, trying to compare mine. Anyway, drop your email down below, guys. Just make sure that we've got your emails. I know we do because we put you on our list, but just make sure. And then what will happen next is Jonily. You know what? I'll go and pull up your Facebook page, Jonily, while you do the next slide.
Oh, wonderful.
so everybody knows how to contact you if they need to.
Excellent. Excellent.
Why don't
Excellent.
you go back to your email address slide
Yep. Sure will.
there? Let me pull up. So Jonily has a Facebook page, and she and I are both on there. It's her page, but I'm helping her in the background. So if you ever need to get a hold of her or me, or for some reason, this is the fastest way. So I'm going to pull this up. So she's very responsive to, of course, Facebook Messenger on the page. Of course, you could also hit her up on email. But I'm just saying, like, if
Absolutely.
you wanted to use Facebook, you could. Let me. And you've got now your Facebook page is the same as the book.
Are you showing us something,
No,
Sunny?
I mean, I'm about
Oh,
to. So
okay.
I'm just saying, like, the name of the page is
Excellent.
Making Mathaniers. Oh, and I forgot to change your banner. Okay, hold on. All right, hold on. Let me change. Let me
And while Sunny is
allow.
doing that, and I know we're going to be wrapping up here. I really and truly want to thank you for being here tonight and spending your time with us. I know there were many people that wanted to be here that are hoping for
Yeah.
a replay. But also, if you know someone, if you go to your curriculum meetings at your educational service centers, or you're in a principals meeting, or you have an opportunity to be at a conference, and you want to share, get in touch with me, because we can share this webinar on demand, the recording, in certain situations. If you know someone or a school or an administrator or a teacher that might benefit from this, so please stay in touch with us and let us know. And we'd be happy to empower you with the tools to help others get in contact with us as well.
So I went ahead and I just dropped your Facebook page, Making Mathaniers, over there in the chat. And then it looks like
Beautiful.
everybody went ahead and dropped us their email addresses. And of course, we have your emails too. I took a picture of everybody who's still on, so we'll be able
Wonderful.
to find
Oh,
you.
Sunny, you're so good. And you're going to share
Right?
that with
I'm
me.
telling you,
And
non-math stuff, I'm great. I'm
I
just kidding.
mean, you
I'm
just
just
take,
kidding.
you take care of me. I love
I
it.
do. I totally
I
do.
love it so much.
Okay, so we got a few or just looks like four more slides left. Let's see what else we have in here.
Yeah, just
Thank you.
thank you guys. I love this one. Blah, 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 blah.
Blah blah
Soul,
blah.
souls. And I can't wait until we can partner together eventually, sooner the better. And I want to thank everybody for being here tonight.